Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast, episode 653, titled Helping Kids Be Healthy and Whole While Learning from Home. I'm your host and fellow educator, Vicki Davis. Now, I was blown away by this interview with Dr. Kim Schonert-Reichl. She's such a talented person who helps us understand how to help kids in these times. It's a very important episode for educators and teachers. I also want to thank We Schools and the All-State Foundation for sponsoring today's podcast. Being a volunteer is a great way for kids to develop social emotional learning skills. And this week, we'll be sharing information about how we can celebrate National Volunteer Week from home as we join We and the All-State Foundation for Let's Volunteer Now. It is a free online event this Friday, April 17th at 1 p.m. Eastern on the We Movement Facebook channel. I'll share more about it at the end of the show.
Welcome to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast, hosted by author, educator, speaker, and mom, the Cool Cat teacher, Vicki Davis. On today's podcast, Dr. Kim Schonert-Reichl helps us understand the concepts of stress contagion, the importance of routines, co-rumination, and other SEL topics to help us better understand our students. Dr. Kim is an expert advisor for the We organization's We Schools program, which is accessed by over 18,000 schools across North America. Kim is known as a world-renowned American expert in the area of social emotional learning, and her studies are wide and vast. Let's join the conversation with Vicki and Dr. Kim right now.
So, Kim, we want to talk today about helping kids be healthy and whole while they're learning from home. When you look worldwide, what's happening with the children who are learning from home, who are isolated at home, what kind of range of emotions are you seeing?
Well, thank you, Vicki. It's just such a pleasure to be here with you. And really, it's such an important question. And as you mentioned, my area of expertise is social and emotional learning, which includes skills like being able to manage your stress, being able to get along with others and have empathy, resolving your conflicts, being able to be responsible decision-making. And what we know now, children, more than ever before, I have to say, that I've witnessed, we really have to build on those social and emotional skills. So younger children will be having some fear. They'll be picking up information, trying to make sense of what it actually means. And older children, especially adolescents, will be thinking about, first and foremost, what does this mean for their schooling, their classes, even the graduation. And so all of them will be having a range of different emotions, things like stress as well as fear, and also probably some emotions they haven't encountered before, thinking about the future. So for some of the adolescents, thinking about what does this mean for the future of the world. And one point I'd really want to highlight is what we know from some of the research is this notion of stress contagion. So right now, we're all highly stressed, and that stress can be contagious. If parents are highly stressed or teachers are highly stressed, your students or your children can actually be affected by it. So I would say one of the things right now that we really need to think about as we think about this range of emotions is think about our own emotions as well, and how some of those children and youth will be looking to us to see how we're feeling to help them weather this unprecedented time in history.
Okay, Kim, I just had a light bulb moment. We're stressed and worried about the contagiousness of the virus, which we should be. And I'm in an area that's very hard hit by that. But I don't know if we're really having any discussions about the contagiousness of stress. Because, I've had a psychologist on my show previously who basically said that if you play news all day in your home, that is a form of trauma. And you could literally be traumatizing very, very young children because they do not comprehend. They think it's continually happening over and over and over. They don't understand you're reporting the same event. So are we having some of the wrong conversations? Let's talk about washing our hands, but should we also talk about creating environments that don't put our kids in this situation?
I think, yes. And I love your idea of this contagion of the virus, at the same time, the contagions of the stress and the fear that are happening, and how that happens just without emotions are contagious. So I think there's a couple of things that we really need to think about. One is, I think what we know now from the science is that our emotions are contagious, and that children look to the adults for seeing how to feel. So I think one thing, I just have to say, both teachers and parents should really be thinking about their own self-care and what they're doing for themselves, because that will really be helpful to their children. And the other thing is that, there's some things, keeping routines as normal as possible, giving space for children to talk about what they're feeling, what they're thinking, but also trying to normalize some of the changes that are happening, making sure that there's time to play, to do those normal types of routines that help provide security. So I think you're absolutely right in the fact that we have to really think about what are those contexts, like playing the news or a constant talking, of course, hand washing, but other things that help bring joy to children, such as play and having their regular routines.
So many great points here. So I've sort of noticed that educators are waffling between two extremes. There's some who say, let's don't do anything. This is too stressful. This is a pandemic. We don't need to do anything at all. And even to the point of cutting off all contact with teachers and students. And then there's the other extreme of, I'm going to be rigid. We're still going to cover all my content. I am such a great teacher that I'm going to cover every single thing. I'm not going to let up. We are just going to charge ahead and we're not going to be flexible. And you all have to just do this. But where should we be? Where does the research help us understand we should be as educators? Because I want to be a good educator and cover my content, but there's also that empathy.
You're totally on target here, that middle ground. So I think one thing we know that helps us handle stress is some outside structure. When our internal world is amiss, we know that we have to actually provide some external structure. But the middle ground there is really, it has to be through relationships. All of us do better. We know from decades of research that social support, feeling a sense of connection is so critical. And so things like teachers doing check-ins with students, there's something about having a regular routine, again, that really is helpful, but using the time to say, let's have a check-in in the morning. Let's see how everyone is feeling. What's something that you're thinking about right now? What's something really positive that will help your well-being right now? And really to have those opportunities for connecting, for feeling positive in relationships. I know that particularly for teens right now, can you imagine what it's like to not being with your friends and to have to be with your parents 24/7 and what that might be like? And so opportunities for them to connect with each other, learning, I think, is important. I think part of keeping the curriculum is critical, but to actually surface those opportunities for connecting to one another and sharing how we're feeling. Because I think there's something also with the stress contagion or something we call co-rumination, where everybody could get in these conversations how stressed they are and how everything is so bad. And it actually can lead to higher levels of stress. So I think we have to also provide the opportunities to say, what helps our well-being? What brings us joy? What are we doing every day to help us all feel better?
We have a PE coach who's posting challenges to his PE classroom. We created one in Google Classroom. And honestly, they're hilarious, funny challenges. And he says the moment he posts those challenges, he starts getting videos back from the kids who are just trying this crazy stuff. And, it's all safe and everything, we'll wad up a paper ball and play this game this particular way. But I've been really quite intrigued by the response and even the sense of humor and the fixation on these little games.
Oh, I love it. And I think the other thing that this is really an opportunity for teachers to get ideas from the students to say, okay, here we have this different way of learning. What are some ways that you suggest of how to learn this material given your different situation? When I was a teacher, that when I put out questions like that, I was teaching 7th and 8th grade, would ask them, and they always came up with really good ideas. So the other thing that boosts well-being during this time of stress is feeling like you have a sense of control. It's feeling like you have something in which you could make decisions. And this also is an opportunity for teachers to ask students for their ideas of how maybe to learn different material or how to maybe even organize the day. Again, I think, depending on the age of the children as well, I think it's an opportunity because we look at this time, it's such a stressful time, but are there some ways to revision education that's actually going to bolster learning? And what we know from research is that when 3 basic human needs are a sense of autonomy, a sense of connection and relatedness, and a sense of competence. This is called self-determination theory. And so how could teachers build in activities to help develop that student sense of having some control and being able to make some decisions, being connected at the same time, and then feeling competent? Like, I love these videos. I bet you the students are feeling so good about trying these kind of crazy physical exercises.
So as we finish up, Kim, how about the whole idea of grieving? Now, I have 2 seniors. I have to disclose that. I have 3 children, but 2 seniors. One's a senior in college, and she's just been waiting for the day that she would get to walk. And, of course, that's been canceled. I have a senior in high school. Same thing. But then you've also got, people who were looking forward to the greatest soccer season ever, the greatest baseball season ever, all of these different sports and things rites of passage, all the things they were looking forward to, which of course pale in comparison to those who have this health issue. However, how do we help our children and our students with the grief that they feel, the mourning of something that just won't happen this particular season?
That's such an important question. I think, first of all, to recognize that emotion, to not dismiss it or minimize it, because I think that diminishes their own sense of how important it is. I think, secondly, to actually think about what's another way we can celebrate. Let's think of some other experience that would help. The other thing is what we know when we give back to others, when we're thinking we're making a difference in the world, it does boost our well-being. And so to then focus on how they intentionally, through this physical distancing, through this collective effort in our world to try and help people live, they're putting in their effort. Yes, it's terrible that they have to miss this event, but they are actually helping the world in their actions of that.
So they're giving up their graduation to make the world a better place. I mean, what's more noble than that?
Exactly.
I love that thought. And that's going to lead into our podcast that'll be airing tomorrow. We're going to record another podcast with you about top 10 ways to give back while at home. So educators and parents, as we talk about this, as we help kids, I just encourage you to think about and reflect on how are we going to help children. Let me hear from you on Twitter. Go to Cool Cat Teacher Twitter and share, or on Facebook. And also head over to the blog and learn more about Dr. Kim Schonert-Reichl and take a look at her bio and connect with her. And let's continue the conversation. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you, Vicki.
In today's challenging times, we know how critical it is to make sure kids are equipped with social and emotional learning skills to cope with the world around them. That's why I'm excited to highlight the We Schools program made possible by the Allstate Foundation. The We School program brings social and emotional learning together with service learning. It helps kids build key skills such as resilience, empathy, perseverance, and problem solving. So whether you're an educator looking for ways to integrate SEL into your lesson plans, or you're a parent looking to support your kids' remote learning at home, go to we.org/SEL for helpful educational resources and tips. Our friends at the Allstate Foundation and we are committed to providing you with the resources you need to get started. Enjoy.